Welcome. Come on in. I am wanting to. Normally, we do this in the afternoons at 12. This is our one. I want to say launch time live, but we did have a launch time live. Will be coming back again soon. But we have our What's Your I Can live boost, which gives you the empowerment to prosper. Okay, it's going to bless you. Blessings means to empower you to prosper. So this is what the WYIC, live boosts are all about. Gives you we share stories, share my testimony. We sometimes have guests on here sharing their stories, sharing their testimony to empower you to prosper. WYIC simply stands for What's Your I Can, taking back your authority, taking back your power that God has given you. He says, I give you the power to get wealth. I give you the power to speak life and death. Power, the life and death is in the power of your tongue. He says, I give you everything you need pertaining to life and godliness. And we are simply here to reclaim all that the enemy wanted to take from us over our years. So go ahead and do me a solid and let me know where you're tuning in from in the comments below. Let's chat with me. I want to make sure I see who's talking and that I don't miss anyone that is showing up. I want to say hello. I want us to greet each other. And if you're on Facebook, let me know as well that you're tuning in. Say hello to all of my followers and family and friends on Facebook and every person that is joining on YouTube. Wherever you're tuning in from in this country, I want to bid you a hello. Hola. Buenos dias. Are the words that I don't know, but I want to know. But so if you know a language, if you are a different nationality, and you want to say hello, write it in your language. I would love to see every person on here that is flooding this space to just show up and reclaim their life and be empowered this Wednesday evening. Okay, so we have been doing some really uh I've been sharing. We've been unearthing and uncovering some, heavy things that lifting some heavy loads in our life. We've been talking about in our WYIC inner circle ending. This is our end of the year connection. So our social life plan, and we have been auditing our our personal inner circle, meaning those that we have invited to our table, right? The relationship table of our hearts, and seeing where they belong and seeing how if they still belong, if we need to let people go, if we need to rearrange some things, right? Rearrange some people, maneuver them around. So this is what we have been discussing in our WYIC inner circle, been seeing the growth, seeing and hearing the growth, and being a part of the process of single moms reclaiming their life of abundance. So yeah, so this is where we are, and we are going to talk about. I'm titling this, if you see in the description, I'm going to be sharing how God transformed my thinking at one of my, I would say, lowest moments, lowest places. So I had someone to reach out to me the other day and was letting me know that I am the only person they know of in Austin. That's huge. I have to sit with that for a moment. In Austin, who has overcome the system of being in government assistance and women's shelter and all the things like that. She says that I am the only person that she know in Austin. That's huge. In Austin, Texas. That is huge. That is huge. That says a lot. So I want to share with you on this afternoon, bits and pieces of my story that I pray that will be very impactful to you, and give you the strength and the courage that you need to reclaim your life of abundance, even in the lowest moments of your life. Okay, even at the lowest time. So when you come in, just say hi so I can know who's tuning in. Okay, but before we begin, you all see this over here to my top left. Okay, this is my QR code that you can scan. I want you to know that everything, and why you can scan this, I'm going to tell you, because everything I share comes from lived experiences. Everything I share comes from lived experience, faith, real struggle, prayer, and rebuilding. So along that, journey, I created a few resources, including my book. So this is the title of my book. It is titled "What's Your I Can? Realize Your I Can in Purpose, Business, and Family." And I love the fact that it says realize, because that comes with self-awareness. That comes with a change of attitude, a change of mindset, a change of perspective when you suddenly realize. So you want to realize your I can in purpose, in business, and in family, which is designed to support your personal growth and purpose. So I want you to, explore that later on. It's there for you. You can scan this QR code on the screen at any time, no pressure at all. What's for you will always find you. For now, just be present and receive what you came for today. Let's begin. All the things that people normally say, tag someone, let me know, let other people know that Miss Kristy Angelee is here. ESM, Elite Single Mom. That's what the ESM stand for, in case you all are wondering, okay, what is this ESM? A lot of things can distract you from receiving what you need to receive. So I want to eliminate all the distractions. So if you have any questions before we really deep dive into anything, let me know in the chat, and I will try my best to respond to every question that is needing an answer to. How about that? So I titled this "The Garden of Eden." This is your Garden of Eden. And if you know anything about the Garden of Eden, this is where God placed Adam and Eve, and he created this beautiful space, this beautiful atmosphere with all these different trees and rivers and grass and flowers and animals of all sorts and kinds, birds of the air and mammals. And it was gorgeous. It was a gorgeous place. It was a heavenly place on earth. It was a place that he, you know, thought up for, people that he was going to put here for us, right? And so he put Adam and Eve in this beautiful garden. They didn't have to do it. They just enjoyed the scenery. That's all they had to do, really. Till, do some labor, not nothing hard, nothing, strenuous. They had it easy. They were on easy street. They got to chill with the animals. They got to, were able to talk with God in the cool of the day, and all this beauty, and just take in the masterpiece, the mastery of what God created with just a spoken word. All he did was speak, and they got to live in this place. I'm touching my walls because I feel like the Garden of Eden is right here. That they were able to touch and laugh and play with things that God put into existence only by a spoken word. He spoke it and it happened. That's powerful, okay? Because I want you to realize that God has been speaking into your life. He's been speaking things into existence, but you can't recognize it. Y'all, I'm already teaching. This is just the intro. We got to recognize it. Sometimes we can't recognize it when there's so many distractions that's going on in our world. We can't recognize what God has already just spoke into our life, spoke into existence, spoke these people in our life that is there to help us and help us mature and walk alongside us in this journey that we're in, and the provisions, and the, Psalms 23 lets us know that he prepares a table for me in the presence of my enemy. All these things that God has provided just by his word. But as I stated earlier, when there's so many different things going on in our life, we lose focus. It distracts us. We can't hear. It distracts us, even though we're looking with the eyes, but it causes us not to hear, and it causes us not to tune into. So when, like in the title of the book, realize, all right, and this is what's going to take place for you during this life. You are going to realize that you are exactly where you need to be. This may very well be your Garden of Eden. Let me okay. Let me know how you feeling already about that. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments, okay? Because we want to talk. I want to talk with you. I want this to be a dialogue, not just a monologue. I want us to grasp what God is doing in this moment, in this last hour of 2025, how He is already shifting you. I opened up the year last year. The word of the Lord for the year of 2025 was, "This is the year of the Lord's compassion. Watch Him in action." And I held on to that, and I'm still hanging on to that, because God has been doing um exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask. I had to bring my mom into my home the other day and just show her the glory, show her the goodness of God. Woo! Show her. I felt like Hezekiah and Solomon, when they were able to bring people in and show the goodness of God, show the glory, show their wealth, show what God was doing and how He provided His provision, his more than enough, His overflow, His abundance. It is a beautiful thing when we live in the word of the Lord that has been spoken. So Adam and Eve, let me get back to that. They were able to live in the word that was spoken. Oh my word. There's something I need to share because it changed the trajectory of my entire life, and it might change yours. In the last women's shelter I was in, and that was here in Texas. I came to Texas in 2015, and how I got here was all God as well, because I was actually evicted. Probably a couple of months before that, I lost my vehicle. I was a manager, but making, less than the manager, or less than trying to pay for an apartment, trying to pay my, car note, trying to keep food in the house. There were days where we literally counted out crackers. I had to count out. I had to count grapes. And if you're watching this in any part of the world where you're looking, you're saying, well, this is our everyday norm. I want to speak a supernatural abundance of supply into your life even now, that God will open up the windows of heaven, and that food and resources will come from the north, east, south, and west, every area that you can't even imagine, to meet your very need. I speak that this day is it etched with Psalms 23, that the Lord is our provider. He is going before you, and He is making your pathway clear. He's making you to lie down in green pastures. He's leading you beside the still waters. Goodness and mercy shall follow you all of the days of your life. I want to speak that into your life right now. That same anointing that God has graced me with, that same privilege and mantle God has graced me with. I want to speak that into your life right now. So in this last women's shelter, I was in. So again, there was times before I got to the women's shelter here in Texas. There was two other women's shelter that we were in. And I'm telling you, when I saw the goodness of God in those women's shelters as well, when I tell you that we began to pray, my sons and I'm trying to take you back to bring you forward, because sometimes we feel like our spaces we are in, there is no God. How can God be with me? How can this be the favor of God? How can this be the goodness of God? How can this be the mercy of God, the compassion of God? But when we were in these spaces, I had to gather my mind and gather my children. They were younger then. They're now teens, young adults, driving, in college, doing the whole thing. And I had to, um, pray God's love and goodness and strength into their life, and give them the plan and the focus, and let them know the word for our house. Even if we were displaced, even if we were in unfamiliar territory, in our wildest dreams moments, even with tears and hanging on and clutching to one another, I had to speak the word of the Lord to them, to let them know that we still belong to God. God is still faithful. God is still good. God is still going to show up. He is still our provider. He is still our way maker. He is still our healer. God is going to open doors regardless of where we are. But in that moment, in that shelter, the first shelter, before we got to this last shelter, we still saw the hands of God, because we began to gather around the table. I was homeschooling again, in that space and all the things. So I started the plans that I did prior to, having to go into the women's shelter. I did not, abort the vision. I did not abort the plans. I did not abort my purpose just because we were in a different and difficult situation and a tougher place. I took that with me and I said, God, you're still God, even in this place. Somebody needs to know that on this evening, that God is still God, even in the circumstances that you are in right now. And so as we were there, we began, I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to love God. We're going to bless God. We're going to praise God. We're going to show up for God and watch God be great. And so we would gather around the table and you see, I'm talking, I'm a talker, communicator, all the things. So there was this out called Glade or Glide or something once before. And so I would go on there and I wanted to be a news anchor woman back in the day. I still kind of want to be that and stuff. But I would go on there and something just, you're going to bless God. You're going to draw people in. You're not going to be embarrassed by where you are. And you're going to use this place as a testimony. And so I began to just, talk and sing songs. I would sing Tasha Cobb's, smile, I want to make you smile. I began to sing that and all the things and just invited the presence of the Lord to where we are. And eventually we saw people coming to the table and other ladies sitting down and asking questions and leaving their prayer requests and asking for the, and just how God was just moving. And even though we were still there, the prayers that we prayed for these other ladies began to be answered, and they were moving out one by one. Oh, I got me a car, I got me a job, I got me a house, and we doing, and I'm like, God, you are good. And we just bless God. So fast forward to where we are now. We was evicted and all the things. When we came here, before we got here to Texas, and so we were in Texas, and now I stand in a extended stay, and I picked up because we end up from Alabama. We were here and we were in Alabama. We were there. I got evicted. All the things that were just crumbling. It was like one thing after the next, crumbling. I'm like, all I knew was that I told the boys, I said, we're moving to Texas. I had put out the fleece before the Lord, and we started packing. In 2 weeks we were packing, and they asked me, how are we going to get there? I felt like that was an Abraham and Isaac moment. When God told Abraham to sacrifice his son, and son, like, okay, bet, we gathering things, and they get up into the mountain. It was like, okay, as they went up the mountain, Isaac was like, okay, Lord, God, Dad, I see the necessities, the elements, to do the sacrifice, but I don't see the sacrifice. And so in that moment, my boys was asking, okay, we packing, we got the boxes, how we gonna get there? We don't have a car. How we gonna get there? We don't have finances. How we gonna get there? For us to get there, we had to go at separate times, but God opened the door for us to get there. So fast forward, we're in Texas. I know I'm where I've always desired to be. I'm where I've always dreamt to be, because I was in school for public relations and international business. So getting my degrees, double majoring. And so I'm like, okay, I'm exactly where I want to be, exactly where I need to be, but we were still didn't have finances or whatever the finances. And so we ended up in an extended stay after, maybe our second week there. And so in the extended stay, it wasn't cheap. I depleted all the funds that I had, and I was on my last. So before we came, I applied to Texas Baptist Children's Home. I'm trying to make arrangements the best way that I can. And I heard about this, women's shelter and all the things. And I'm like, okay, bet, we just gonna have to make it do what we do. So I applied to Texas Baptist Children's Home, did not receive anything. Like, there was a waiting list, and they don't know when the next one is going to be open. So I was like, okay, well, we're just going to go anyway. And so ended up in extended stay. We got there like December 19th. The children were out of school. And so I said, okay, I transferred my job. I was a manager, so I was able to transfer my job. And so get there, and I'm still having to go right to work because they needed a manager immediately, like as in the yesterday. And so I was like, bet, give us 2 weeks and we'll be there. And so we got there, get to come to Texas, no place to stay. So then I wasn't realizing that, okay, I worked, and so I got money coming in from that. So, but after that ran out, we was on our last dime when I get a call from Texas Baptist Children Home and saying, you know what, I know we told you that there was a waiting list, but how would you like to go ahead and move in now? We got to open, but if you can't, if it's too much, you can wait. We can still, no, that's fine, because we were literally out of pennies. I had nothing, like nothing to my name, nothing, like zero, no more income coming in. Hadn't started working yet, and trying to figure out how we're going to continue in this extended stay, where we're going to go, all the things. And so God opened the door for that. And so when I got into the women's shelter, and I began to look around, and I'm just like, one, it was a beautiful place. Oh my gosh, it wasn't like the women's shelter that I came from. This place was gorgeous. I'm telling you, gorgeous. It was just like a frat house, a sorority house. Beautiful. We had other ladies in there, but the rooms were all separate. We had a foyer, our own. The kitchen was huge. Okay, coming from one small kitchen to where we having to share the refrigerator space, to where we all had our own refrigerator, had our own countertop stove, our whole kitchenette. We had our own kitchen, right? And even though we had to share a room, the boys and I had to share a room, but the place was gorgeous. And I began to ask God, Lord, why am I here? What is the purpose for me being here? Because I was tired. I had nothing left, even though I was still going for my teens, my boys. I had nothing left to give. I had nothing left. My confidence that I had, it was dwindling, because I'm like, whew. So when I walk in and I'm looking around and I'm talking to God, and I heard him say, this is your Garden of Eden. This is your place of rest. This is your paradise until I give you the next assignment, until I put you in the next place. But while you are here, this is your place of rest. So in this women's shelter, I wasn't standing strong. I felt myself, starting to crumble, and I wasn't confident like I was needing to. I wasn't as bold as I was needing to. I was tired. I was worn down, and I was holding on to God with shaking hands. And right there in that place, that felt nothing like hope, nothing like purpose, nothing like future. God whispered that to me. He said, this is your Garden of Eden. Now listen, it didn't look like Eden, you know, to the natural. I would say, if I did not have the right mindset, it would not have looked like Eden. It would not have felt like Eden. It would not have smelt like Eden. Wouldn't have been nothing in that room that looked like promise, if I did not have that faith that I was holding on to. But God wasn't talking just about the place, because I already saw, when I was looking around, it was already beautiful. He was talking about the process. Even in that space, even just the beauty but he was deeper. He was talking about more than just a space. He put me in a beautiful place, us in a beautiful place, with all of the abundance. I'm telling you, we didn't go without a thing. I'm telling you, we had more than enough. We had provision. We had, the boys were able to get in all types of activities. They were able to, take karate, camps, and summer camps, and meet other people. Dances, and Christmas was overflowing again. We didn't go without a thing. And that is where I started to reclaim my life of abundance. And I've shared my story many a times, that pivotal moment that caused me to write What's Your I Can? What caused me to start living in my I Can. Because even when he spoke, this is your Garden of Eden, I still had some transformation that needed to take place. I still needed to work some things out and rest. I was, oh my Lord, was I tired? Was I still, it's like running on, like, I gotta go, I gotta do this, I gotta make sure they're good. I was still needing to take a moment to breathe, because even in that place, there was still a time limit. It still came with a time limit, but the time came, and the time came, and my days kept stretching longer and longer. It You were only supposed to be in there for a few months, but I was there longer than the time frame that was needed. Eh, That was all God. That was all His doing. He was saying, "This is where I'm planting you. This is where I'm forming you. This is where the old dies and the new grows. This is where you learn who you really are. This is where purpose starts to bloom." And in that space is where I started to um, build my business. I started Whimsical Events Galore, because before I left Oxford, I had my own company. I started a business, and it was going great. I was getting business with universities and different companies, so it was going great. And in this, thing just started to crumble. After this, thing just started to crumble in the marriage. So I had to regather myself and remind myself of who I was, my purpose, the God in me, and all the things. And so God was telling me, Eden is not a location, it's a season. So for you, I want you to know where you are. You are in your, I'm going to speak that into your life, that you are in your Garden of Eden. It is not a location, it's a season that you're in. God, and sometimes your Eden comes disguised as a shelter. It comes disguised as a setback, a heartbreak, or a door that's shut in your face. Sometimes your Eden looks like the place you prayed to get out of. Sometimes your Eden hurts before it heals. But Eden is where God plants what he plans to grow. He planted and he spoke the word. He was speaking everything that he wanted to grow. He just started speaking. He started speaking. He started healing. He said, "This is your I Can." I was in the middle of the floor. My children had went to school, and I'm still, again, after he said, "This is your Garden Eden," I'm still there longer, because my expectation, my timeline, it was like, I'm only going to be here temporarily, because I know I got myself back together. I'm ready to press forward, right? And so, no, there was still a holding season, a waiting season. And I'm like, I do not want to be here any longer. So, God, we need to do something about this. Like, and I was still crying, because it was still painful. It was still, no matter if it was a beautiful place, but I wasn't walking in the purpose that I felt like I needed to be walking in. That success, that abundance, that greatness, that favor, that that just prominent influence, person that God has called me to be. And it didn't look anything like the way that I thought the favor of God and the goodness of God was going to overwhelm my life. And the garden is so beautiful, and the place so beautiful. But there I met some amazing people. We have some amazing memories. We have some amazing stories. And we have some amazing healing and victories. So in this place, you are going to heal, but Eden is where God plants you. The season broke me open, and God used it to build me back differently. That season broke me open, and God used it to build me back differently. And that revelation became part of the foundation of my book, because I knew, if God could take a shelter and call it Eden, come on now. If God could take a shelter and call it Eden, I hope you hear me. If God could take a shelter and call it Eden, he could take any person in any situation and call them new. Any person in any situation and call them new. So Eden is not a place. I want to leave with you some notes, some points that you can take away so you can start reclaiming your life and healing in this place and seeing God and changing your perspective and realizing your I can and purpose, business and family. One, Eden is not a place, it's a process. All right. I want you to know that Eden is not a place. It's a process. God grows you in hidden, uncomfortable, unlikely places. This is the place that he grows you in, that he matures you in, that he recreates your will so that it can align with his. If you allow him, your lowest season can be your planting season. Your lowest season can be your planting season. Nothing was wasted. Every tear watered something. Nothing. He took those tears and he began to pour them back on me and cause them to, be my growth, be my comfort, and let me know that even the tears have purpose. Even the tears have healing and growth, spoken into them. God does his best work in the soil of your brokenness. In the soil of your brokenness, he does his best work. So Eden is where transformation begins, not where perfection lives. If you are recognizing this place as your Eden, then transformation is going to happen right where you are. You don't have to be in some luxurious place. You don't have to be in some, brand new place, something that is so aesthetically pleasing and the embarrassment, is no longer there. You don't have to be in those places. God will heal you. He will give you the confidence. He will give you the purpose that you need. My boys and I, while we're in this place, we were able to go to counseling. We were able to get there, get counseling. I talk about this in my book, share even more the experience, the things that, just amaze me about God. I share this, so in this place, God just opened up the doors and allowed us to have access to resources that most people are having to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for. And God says, I'm going to put you here and I'm going to provide all that you need. Psalms 23, his provision is real. So he doesn't. So what looks like punishment may actually be preparation. God was burying you. He was not burying you. He was planting you. What felt like punishment, what felt like you're crumbling, what felt like everything been snatched from you, what felt like God's favor wasn't over your life, God's goodness wasn't over your life. How can mercy, be following me? How can I be the righteousness of God? How am I in right position with God? When I look at the word of God or what I've been hearing, when you're in right position with God, overflow, abundance supposed to be all the days of your life. And it's the opposite right now. I'm not saying that, but God is planting you and preparing you so that you can have the capacity to hold on to what he is getting you ready for. So Eden is where God strips away what you thought you were to reveal who you really are. Who you really are. I had some work on me, Jesus, to do. Okay? Just because God spoke, just because I heard, I still had some work. I still had some spiritual healing. So spiritual maturation to take place. I still had some personal development to take place. And so for the 12, 14 months that God allowed us to be in that space, I was healing. I was becoming whole. God was creating in me a new heart and creating in me a clean heart, renewing that right spirit within me. He was letting me know that I got you, that you belong to me. And no matter where you are, as David said, even if I make my bed in hell, God is with me. Eden is the place where identity is restored. You don't leave Eden the same way you entered. You don't leave Eden the same way you entered. Eden seasons feel uncomfortable because growth requires disruption. Growth requires your way of thinking to be disrupted. Old ideas, religious ideas, and selfishness and pride and bitterness and what you feel like this is what a single mom is supposed to be like, or wherever you are in your life, this is the type of story I'm supposed to be telling myself. This is the type of life I'm supposed to be living, because this is what I heard how a person in this situation is supposed to act or respond and behave. No, it's coming to disrupt all of that. You can't bloom where nothing pushes you. So Eden is a place that, it's uncomfortable because growth has to take place. Growth requires disruption. So if your thinking is being disrupted, if your relationships are being disrupted, you are growing. God is pushing you. Things are pushing you to grow. God would call a painful place Eden, because he sees the harvest before you see the seed. He sees what you're already meant to be, what you are already, before you were in your mother's womb. He said, I already called you by name. I already knew you. I already placed purpose in you. I already put assignment in you. I already knew the climate of 2025 and 2026 and the next 10 years. So I already knew who you were going to be for the purpose in which I already foresaw that was going to take place. So I needed you to be in this space so that I can shape you, I can make you over, and that I'm already knowing that you are going to be a powerful, powerful weapon in the kingdom of heaven. He sees your future from angles you can't. He sees you from the north, south, east, west. He sees all of you. Sometimes we just get just one focus, and we can't see all of us. We can't see. God says in Isaiah, I believe 55, that his ways are higher than ours. His thoughts are higher than ours. Until we start asking for God thoughts and God eyes and let this mind and renewing us, we can't see it until he opens us up and reveals it to us, the thoughts and allowing us seeing through the lens that he wants us to see through. When God says this is Eden, he is saying, this is not the end. When God says this is Eden, he is saying, this is not the end. I'm here to tell you right now, this, where you are, is not the end. What you're faced with, what you're struggling with, what you're crying through, what you are, praying through, what you are healing through, this is not the end. You just have to be surrendered. You have to say yes. If God can call a shelter Eden, he can call you purpose. If God can call a shelter Eden, he can call you purpose. He can call you chosen, capable, valuable, whole, and becoming. So you may not be in a beautiful place right now or think it's beautiful until God changes your perspective and changes your eyes. As Elisha said to God, when they were on a mountain and getting ready to fight, and his right hand man was looking and seeing the enemy all around them, he was like, they warning us, they got this massive, it's only us. And he prayed to God. He said, God, open up his eyes so that he may see. And so I'm praying that prayer over your life. God, open up their eyes so that they may see the beauty in where they are. They may see you, feel you, know you. Your word is there. You spoke your word, and your word has no other choice but to perform on their behalf. The resources have to be there. Before he put Adam and Eve in that garden, he had the resources there. He had things available for them. So before he put you there, allowed you to be in that place, before you traversed in this place, he already had resources awaiting your arrival. So you may be in a purposeful place. And if God called my shelter Eden, guess what? He is calling your season right now. He is calling that season Eden. So I pray that you are feeling empowered to prosper. I speak a blessing over your life. I speak a more than a supernatural abundance of God's provision and judgment against the enemy over your life. I speak supernatural resources into your life, because I want God to even more. Open your eyes to see that you are exactly where he meant or he needs you to be. You all have a blessed and lovely Wednesday. I love you all to life. And I will see you all. And don't forget that scan that QR code when you get that chance, okay? I love you all to life. Have a wonderful and prosperous Wednesday.